This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
This message is brought to you by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
As soon as I found out we were going to have a baby, I wanted to make sure that whatever we slept on or came into contact with was safe from toxins or anything harmful. So I bought Koyuchi sheets and towels. Koyuchi was exactly what we needed. Not only are they certified organic to the highest standards, they're also just amazing. We have the Koyuchi Organic Crinkled Percale Sheets. They're 100% organic cotton and woven to be naturally cooling, super soft, and breathable. And I honestly just sleep better with them. Of course, now our baby registry has a lot of Koyuchi on it too. Crib sheets, blankets, and a snuggle sack. All the best for him or her. Everything we have from Koyuchi feels good, looks good, and is safe for our whole family.
Get 15% off when you visit Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com to get 15% off. Koyuchi.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. As joining me in segment number 2, we're going to have one of our good friends, Mid-Major Matt, as he does such a great job over at ESPN Radio Richmond. He does a great job with the Prop Queen website and so much more. We're going to be chatting with him about how he's taking a look at this open landscape in baseball right now. We're going to be breaking down some of the games for Sunday as well with him. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letter CM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost, making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever with Edge Boost. They make sure that 100% of gambling transactions get approved, and when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Saturday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
In the double dip, you saw the Atlanta Braves dominate the Miami Marlins. In game number 1, Drickster and Profar, one of the best catches that you're going to see in quite some time, 7-1. The Braves do get the job done as far as Miami. Ryan Gusto gives up 3 runs in 6 innings, and then George Soriano gives up 4 runs in his inning of work as Michael Harris, 11th home run the campaign, while Hurston Waldrop, very good start here for Atlanta. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Pierce Johnson, Dylan Lee, Tyler Kinley all lend a scoreless inning, and for the Fish, he did have a scoreless inning out of Tyler Zuber, so yay verily there. And then in game number 2, the Braves, they get to Sandy Alcantara, 8-6 a final, as Sandy Alcantara's no good, very bad, terrible year continues. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings, including a pair of bombs going deep for Atlanta. Marcell Ozuna twice. 17th and 18th home runs of the campaign. From there, Valentin Belozo looked like a bozo, giving up 3 runs in 2 innings. Did have Josh Simpson from there give you a scoreless inning. And for Atlanta, they did a solid job of getting to Eric Fetty Wap. He gives up 4 runs in 5 innings. So giving up at least 3 runs in, I believe, 8 straight starts. From there, Aaron Bummer, Desbel Hernandez combined for 2 innings, allow a combined 2 runs, but Austin Cox, Raciel Iglesias, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning for the Milwaukee Brewers. They persevere and they get the job done against the New York Mets, 7-4, as they're now 72-44. What a season this has been for the Milwaukee Brewers, as for the Brew Crew, they did a solid job of getting to one of Mr. Frankie Montas, who he had himself a rough day in this one. He was actually the bulk guy. They utilized an opener, Reed Garrett, who went to scoreless inning. Montas gives up 3 runs, only one of which was earned in his 3 innings, as he does give up a bomb, as he gives one up to Bryce Terang, 10th home run season. Then William Contreras, his 10th home run in the campaign. That comes off of Ryan Elsley, who gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. Ryan Stanek gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning as well. Gregory Soto, Taylor Rogers, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Justin Hagenman was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. As for the Mets, they entered up 4-3 going into the 7th inning, and then it went into the abyss. As for Milwaukee, this was not what they were hoping for. Tobias Myers, 3 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings, as he does give up a pair of home runs. Starling Marte, the Marte Parte, 6th home run in the campaign. You had from there Pete Alonso get his 26th home run season, and Juan Soto off of Aaron Ashby, 28th home run season. For Ashby, gives up that home run in 1 2/3 innings. From there, though, Shelby Miller, fresh off the injured list, Jared Koenig, Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill. They're all able to give you a scoreless inning. And then for the Cincinnati Reds, they find a way to persevere against the Pittsburgh Pirates, this by a count of 2-1, as Nick Martinez, really good start. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Emilio Pagan, Tony Santillan from there, both give you a scoreless inning. Reds win this game despite going 0 of 10 with men in scoring position, as it was Braxton Ashcraft, who was pretty much the opener plus. He and Carmen Molodzinski piggybacked off of one another. 1 run allowed by Ashcraft in 3 1/3 innings. Molodzinski gives up 1 run in 3 innings. From there, Ryan Baruchi, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Isaac Madsen, a scoreless inning, and then you had a scoreless inning out of Cam Sanders, but offense could not get going for the Pirates, who are dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. The Royals are able to shut down the Minnesota Twins, this by a count of 2-0. Very good start here from Noah Cameron. 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Einel Zerpa and out of the bullpen scoreless. Hunter Harvey, Lucas Hursedge, Carlos Estevez all lend a scoreless inning. And for Bailey Ober, just 1 run allowed in 6 innings. He was solid. Michael Tonkin, Justin Topa from there give you a scoreless inning. Erasmo Ramirez gives up a run in an inning, but nothing doing on offense for them. Just like there was nothing doing on offense really in the entire AL Central, as the Cleveland Guardians get the job done against the Chicago White Sox by a count of 3-1, as home run number 1 of the season for CJ Kayfus, as he's able to go deep off of Brian Hudson. Hudson comes in after Sean Burke, only last 3 1/3 innings. Only allowed 2 runs, but not sharp here. Tyler Gilbert from there, 5 outs out the bullpen scoreless. Hudson allows that home run in his 2 innings of work. Wilkman Gonzalez, Jordan Leisure both give you a scoreless inning. And lone from off offense, Michael A. Taylor, he goes deep off of Joey Cantillo's 8th home run season. Cantillo gives up that home run in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Nick Enright, Hunter Gaddis both give you a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless. And Eric Zabrowski, Cade Smith, they're able to turn a scoreless inning apiece. For the Chicago Cubs, they turn a whole bunch of runs off of Andre 3000 Palante, 9-1 the final. Palante does not give up 3,000 runs, but he does give up 6 runs, and he gets just 5 outs, including a home run going deep. For the Cubs, it was Michael Busch, his 22nd home run season, then Matt Shaw, 8th home run season. That comes off of Ryan Fernandez. For Fernandez, gives up that home run in 3 innings of work, so not too bad there. You had 2 runs given up in 2 1/3 innings by Gordon Garcifo and Roderi Munoz, 2 scoreless innings. For the Cubs, Colin Ray said hip hip hooray to giving up just 1 run in 6 innings. Gil Theobar, along Tyler Rogers, and Drew Pomeranz are able to give you a scoreless inning. From there, the Arizona Diamondbacks persevere against the Colorado Rockies by a count of 6-5, as for Arizona, not necessarily the start that they had planned for Eduardo Rodriguez, giving up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run to Mr. Brenton Doyle, 9th home run season, but you had Brandon Blaylock give up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Actually, Bradley Blaylock, I always get it. For some reason, I think that he's Brandon when he's really Bradley, but that said, he's given up a lot of runs. He gave up a home run in this one to Corbin Carroll, 25th home run in the campaign, as he had Kyle Bacchus, Andrew Selfrank, Andrew Hoffman all end a scoreless inning out of the Diamondbacks bullpen, and out of the bullpen scoreless from Juan Burgos. And for the Colorado Rockies, bullpen was able to hold down the fort for them. Did have Jimmy Herget give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, as it was a walk-off double by Lourdes Gurriel, but did have a scoreless inning out of Juan Mejia, and Duggan Darnell was able to give you 4 outs of the bullpen scoreless. For the Philadelphia Phillies, they shut down the Walker Texas Rangers 3-2 the final, as Jesus Luzardo 1 run allowed in 6 innings. From there, Tanner Banks, Doran, both on the scoreless inning, and Matt Strom gives up a solo run in his inning of work, as going deep for Texas, Corey Seager, 17th home run season. Jacob deGrom starting to show some regression, 3+ runs allowed in 3 of his last 4 starts, gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned in 6 2/3 innings. From there, Danny Kalum, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Sean Armstrong, he was able to go for 5 innings. He was able to go scoreless there as well, and you had a lot of scoring by the Athletics on this day. 11-3, they take it to the Baltimore Orioles. As for the Athletics, you had Mr. Jack Perkins give up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings, did allow a home run going deep for the Orioles. Gunnar Henderson, 14th home run season, but Brandon Young. 6 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Going deep for the Athletics, Shea Langoliers. Shea bangs his 23rd home run season, and Brent Rooker, 24th home run of the season. From there, the bullpen did not do a great job. Kyle Stout, he comes in for an inning, giving up nothing. Grant Wolfram, 2 scoreless innings, but Corbin Martin give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and 1 2/3 innings for Yaramil Hidalgo, and he gives up 4 runs, only one of which was earned by his own error, though, so pretty much on him. And then you had Michael Kelly for the Athletics to give you 2 scoreless innings, and Hogan Harris, he was Hogan Hero. He was able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Tigers, they fell to the LA Angels, this by a count of 7-4, and Tigers all of a sudden are really regressing. As for Yusei Kikuchi, I say he didn't have a good start, 4 runs allowed in 5 innings, but Ryan Zephyr, Jan Brockenroll, Luis Garcia, Kenley Jansen, all in a scoreless inning, and trio bombs here for the Angels. Luis Renifo, his 6th home run campaign. Joedel sets fire to the rain on Charlie Morton, 25th home run season, and Taylor Ward also off of Morton, 27th home run season. For Morton, 10 strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings, but gave up 6 runs, all of which were earned, including those 2 bombs. From there, 1 2/3 innings from Cody Hewer. He gives up a home run, and you had Rafael Montero along with Tyler Holton combined for 3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. You had the Houston Astros fall to the New York Yankees by a count of 5-4. As for Houston, they did not have what they were hoping for out of Framber Valdez, who gives up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Caleb Ward from there, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Brian King allows a home run in the 8th inning to Trent Grisham. That was the difference. Grisham, 21st home run of the season. Luis Eel, not a bad start here. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, as he gives 1 up to Jeremy Pena, 12th home run of the season for him. From there, Mark Leiter Jr., pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. David Bednar was able to go for 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Camilo Duvall, not looking great right now for the Yankees. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, give it up in a 1/3 of an inning, but Luke Weaver was able to turn a scoreless inning of his own. And for the Washington Nationals, they get it done against the San Francisco Giants. It's by a count of 4-2, as you had a trio of bombs for Washington. James Wood with Goodwood, 25th home run of the campaign. Paul DeYoung, his 3rd home run of the season, and Josh Bell, his 14th home run of the season. All 3 bombs comes off of Carson Weisenhunt. Gives up 3 home runs over the course of 4 innings. From there, Carson Seymour gives up a run in 3 innings, and Matt Gage 2 scoreless innings. Rafael Devers, his 7th home run with the San Francisco Giants, 22nd overall of the campaign. That comes off for Brad Lord, but that was the lone mistake that he would make. 6 innings, gives up that home run. From there, Connor Pilkington, a scoreless inning. Jose Ferrer, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and Cole Henry, he got a out of the bullpen, but allowed a run along the way. Now, I do have to have this posted up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, so doing this a little bit in advance. Right now, we've got a few games in the balance, so we know how this one is going to go. The Dodgers are currently up in the 7th inning against the Toronto Blue Jays by a count of 9-0. As for Chris Bassett, taking up line and sinker here, gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Max Muncy, 16th home run season. Shohei Ohtani is 40th. Blake Snell, a really good start. 10 punch-outs in 5 scoreless innings. Brock and Roll Stewart, Jack Dreyer have both lent scoreless innings. And right now for the Blue Jays, you had Uriel Rodriguez give up 4 runs while getting 1 out of the bullpen scoreless. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he gives up a pair of runs in 2/3 of an inning. As of right now, Braden Fisher a scoreless inning, but not great there. And right now it's not looking great for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're down by a count of 6-1 in the bottom of the 5th inning to the Seattle Mariners. As for Joe Boyle, Boyle did not rule. He gave up 3 home runs in this one, 2 to Julio Rodriguez, 22nd and 23rd home runs of the season, and Cal Raleigh. Big Dumper leads the league with 44 home runs this season. Mason Montgomery from there, 8 scoreless inning, and Brandon Lau did go deep off of Logan Evans, 22nd home run season. Evans thus far has given up just that solo home run over the course of 5 innings, and right now we are having this one hanging in the balance. Top of the 9th inning, the Padres currently up 4-3 on Boston, as Lucas Giolito gives up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the Padres, Mr. Xander Bogaerts, 10th home run season, while Michael King, he only went 2 innings in this one, giving up 2 runs, but everyone else has had his back. You had Wandy Peralta give up 1 run in 2 innings. From there, Jeremiah Estrada was able to give you 2 scoreless innings. Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon have combined for 2 scoreless innings, and Robert Suarez looking to not pull this one because he's had some blown saves recently. He's coming onto the game, and Steven Matz, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Drew Nix, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been very much an underwhelming season, but over the last 7 days, the overs have been hitting. Last 7 days, 48 overs, 36 unders, with a few games pending for Saturday. That is a 57.1% hit rate to the over. Favorites are hitting at a clip of over 60% in these last 7 days as well, 53 and 35 on the money line. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the season to date, favorites are hitting at about 57%, 989 and 746 on the money line. Meanwhile, overall for the season, unders Over-unders are hitting at 51.9%, 870 unders to 807 overs. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we all got on Saturday. Now let's take a look at Sunday's games and the league landscape with our good friend Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
This message is brought to you by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
As soon as I found out we were going to have a baby, I wanted to make sure that whatever we slept on or came into contact with was safe from toxins or anything harmful. So I bought Koyuchi sheets and towels. Koyuchi was exactly what we needed. Not only are they certified organic to the highest standards, they're also just amazing. We have the Koyuchi Organic Crinkled Percale Sheets. They're 100% organic cotton and woven to be naturally cooling, super soft, and breathable. And I honestly just sleep better with them. Of course, now our baby registry has a lot of Koyuchi on it too. Crib sheets, blankets, and a snuggle sack. All the best for him or her. Everything we have from Koyuchi feels good, looks good, and is safe for our whole family.
Get 15% off when you visit Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com to get 15% off. Koyuchi.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Matt Josephs aboard. He's better known as Mid-Major Matt as he does a great job over with Ariel Epstein's Prop Queen website along with her podcast. I know that he's also doing an amazing job over there at ESPN Radio in Richmond with the show Border to Border. He does a great job on the college basketball front, the college football front, and the baseball front. And you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Mid-Major Matt all together. Matt, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you as always for having me.
Always good to have you aboard. And Matt, how do you take a look at this time of year in baseball, especially this year, because now we've really got these playoff races heating up, and it just feels like it's a more open year in baseball than it really ever has been with no real dominant team.
Yeah, and this is one of those times where you might be able to find some value with somebody who's not exactly in the playoff race right now. I would say probably, within 3, 4, 4.5 games at the most, maybe still has a chance at the wild card, especially if you kind of look in both leagues. The Guardians, Rangers, Royals are somewhat on the outside, then like the Reds and the Giants and maybe the Cardinals in the National League. So maybe you try and find some value if you're a futures bettor, maybe somebody you like who's been playing some good baseball as of late, because I think there might be some value in somebody who's currently not in the playoffs to make the playoffs.
Yep, absolutely. And is there a team or two in particular that you are feeling a little bit bullish on that you think could be able to make that run into the playoffs?
Well, I mean, I think the Reds, maybe. The Reds pitching is, up and down. And certainly if Hunter Green ever comes back, he's had some issues in some of his rehab starts. Maybe that would be a nice little boost for the Reds. I would have liked to have seen them do a little bit more at the trade deadline. Getting Brian Hayes wasn't really enough for what the Reds wanted to do potentially. And then in the American League, I'd like to think that the Rays have a run in it, but, they're still pretty far out. The Royals don't have enough pitching or hitting, it feels like. The Rangers are interesting, but with older guys in their rotation, how much longer can they last? Rangers have a pretty good lineup, but at times their pitching kind of concerns me. Could Jacob deGrom finish things out? Obviously, they're relying on Patrick Corbin, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So those are some of the teams that are kind of interesting on the outside looking in right now.
Yep, they are very interesting, and I'm glad that you mentioned the Cincinnati Reds because all throughout the series against Pittsburgh Pirates, they've been right around a pick 'em in every game, and we've got that once again with it being Zach Little going up against Mike Burrows. That total is 8. How do you take a look at a situation like this with a guy that comes on over from the Tampa Bay Rays who's given up a lot of homers, but somehow, some way has kept the ERA down?
Yeah, he was very good in his first start with the Reds, pitching in Wrigley, 7 innings, and basically just gave up 1 home run and had 8 strikeouts against a Cubs team that at times is very good at making contact. And look, this is the Pirates team that once again is kind of in that familiar spot where they're not exactly going to make the playoffs and they're kind of just playing for next year and stuff like that. Usually I would kind of look at maybe an earned runs allowed under for Littell. There's a bunch of guys, that this lineup just doesn't have enough right now. And so, pending the weather and everything, depending upon how it is, but like I've been playing a lot of earned runs allowed unders against the Pirates, and lately a lot of pitchers are going 6 innings or more against Pittsburgh. So I would certainly look at the outs prop for Littell. We know he can go deep as well.
Yep, absolutely. He's very much a pitch contact guy. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, but if he does get that soft contact, he can go very deep into a game because he doesn't use a lot of pitches with a low walk rate. That does help him out. So I'm glad that you gave that look. And this one I think is interesting as well as Adrian Hauser has been one of those pitch contact guys that has been rock solid this year. But first start with the Tampa Bay Rays wasn't so great. Goes up against Brian Wu now, and the Seattle Mariners are a minus 170, minus 175 favorite, which I think that that's one too far. Total is 7.5. Anything that you might be taking a look at here because I know that a lot of Brian Wu's props have been very fruitful thus far this season.
Yeah, and you look at Hauser's last couple starts on the road, not very good. Gave up 11 hits to the Angels in 5 2/3. Gave up 10 hits in Pittsburgh in 4 1/3. He pitched well in Colorado, which a lot of people seem to do. Not terribly in Toronto, so he's kind of been all over the place as of late. And the thing you always want to look at when it comes to these West Coast swings is, where is this in the road trip? Now, the Rays are in a long road trip because remember they had some of these long homestands early on when they took advantage of the weather, but they are going from the Angels where they were to Seattle, then they're going to go to Sacramento, then they're going to go to San Fran. So this is kind of the middle of a long road trip. I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but at some point I expect potentially a fall off. Maybe the offense starts to struggle a little bit. Maybe it happens in Sacramento, although in that minor league park it probably won't. Maybe it happens in San Francisco against some of their veteran starting pitchers. But this Rays team at some point could get pretty tired considering how long they've been out in the West Coast and how they're going to go through 4 cities, 4 different areas for this trip.
No question about it. I do think that that's such a big key to take a look at with the Tampa Bay Rays because they were so front-loaded with their home games this season. So I'm so glad that you bring that up, and certainly it's going to be an interesting case study for them the next few weeks. As joining me here, we've got Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and then this is going to be a fun matchup in my opinion. The Phillies are on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers. Patrick Corbett against Zach Wheeler. Wheeling and dealing Wheeler about a minus 155 favorite with a total of 8. How do you take a look at both Zach Wheeler and this Philadelphia Phillies team moving forward? Because I felt like it was very necessary that they picked up Yohan Duran at the trade deadline. Still feel like they could have used a little bit more for that bullpen, but obviously Wheeler has been lights out all season.
Yeah, several Phillies have really good numbers against Corbin, obviously from his time with the Nationals. Now, he's greatly improved since his time with the Nationals. Now, he's still not great, but he has a 3.91 ERA and a decent whip as well, 1.31. So maybe you're looking at like a Schwarber, a homer type of thing. He's got a couple of homers against Corbin in his career. I will say this for the podcast. One of the things that I probably will be targeting on Sunday is a Zach Wheeler outs under prop, especially if it's potentially 18.5. Zach Wheeler has complained a little bit about soreness. He has had some issues with regards to that, and there's no real worry about it in terms of like for the future. He keeps saying all the right things. They did an MRI and it's pretty clean. They're hoping he's going to be able to make this start. We may find out Sunday morning that he doesn't, but if he does, I'm looking at an outs under here. I think that depending upon the bullpen usage on Saturday night, they're going to want him to go 5 innings, maybe 6 at the most. I just can't see them, after him complaining a little bit about soreness and everything, him going a long time. I know he's going to argue with the manager, and I'm hoping Rob Thompson will do the right thing and take him out a little bit earlier in his pitch count. But depending upon what the book set it at, if it's 18.5, I'm probably looking at an under here because I just think that they're going to be very cautious. Without Zach Wheeler, this team is not a playoff team. Like, well, okay, they're a playoff team, but they're certainly not a World Series contender. So that's something to certainly watch. What is the outs number for Zach Wheeler on Sunday? And maybe you look at the strikeouts under. Maybe he's just trying to get it over. But this Rangers team at times strikes out a lot. So look at the outs under potentially for Zach Wheeler.
And that's such good information right there. And how much do you pay attention to what these guys say in the media and things like that? Because that's not necessarily something that's going to be popping on a spreadsheet or something like that. But I mean, that's a good piece of intuition, and that's a good piece of intel to have going into a game like this.
So managers have these mini press conferences before the game sometimes, which is really foolish. I don't know what they're going to say, but you sometimes have to pay attention to this sort of thing. It's always especially important when you've got guys coming off the IL, when you look at rehab starts. Did they make rehab starts? How many rehab starts? What's their pitch count going to be? It's not an exact science, and some managers will say, oh, he's got 75 to 85 pitches, and if he's looking bad, then they'll take him out at 70, but it's at least information that you can use. Now, I'm not saying that Zach Wheeler is definitely not going to go past 18.5 outs. There's no guarantees in life. I can't say that, but I'm just saying based off the information and based off of kind of guessing what the Phillies should do with their most important player, arguably, it's something that I'm going to kind of take a look at on Sunday.
Yep, I do think that that's an amazing look by you and just great intel that you were able to pick that up in general. So I'll be looking out for that on Sunday myself as we do a Matt Joseph's, aka Mid-Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how do we gauge the Brewers right now as they have the best record in all of baseball? They've got Quinn Priester going up against Sean Manaea on Sunday in Brewers versus Mets. Right now the Brewers are right around minus 120, minus 125 favorites and a total of 8.5. And for Manaea, since coming off the injury list, swing and miss stuff has been absolutely amazing for him. And the Brewers just have a lot of guys that are going out there getting the job done. And somehow, some way, they've got these just really weird home and road splits with regards to their offense.
Yeah, and it's a Brewers team that at one point struck out a lot against lefties, and lately, outside of a Imanaga start where he had 8 strikeouts, they're not doing it. I mean, they had 3 against Wentz, who has been a revelation recently. Mitchell Parker had 3, Matt Boyd had 2, Clayton Kershaw had 2. So I'll be interested to see what the Manaea strikeout number is potentially here for the Milwaukee Brewers. But yeah, you're right. At home, they're an offense that you don't want to fade, and certainly the Mets are not playing good baseball right now. This is a Mets team that's losing a lot. The division is getting away from them, and Priester's been one of the better pitchers in baseball lately. If you look at his numbers, he's 11-2 with a 3.15 ERA. He's just been absolutely tremendous. And the other thing you kind of notice for Priester is he's going deep in ball games. His last 5 starts, 7 innings, 5 2/3, 7, 6, and 6. Now, granted, he's pitching really well, and that's why he's going deeper in games. But like this guy, if he can pitch like this, and if Brandon Woodruff can return to what he was, you've got a Brewers team that's really scary to play in a short series, because when you have really good pitchers and you have a short series and you can have your best pitchers go 2 of the 5 games apiece, that's going to shorten a lot of series for you.
Yep, that is going to. And with the Milwaukee Brewers, the fact that they've gotten back so many bullpen pieces as well. Someone like an Aaron Ashby, who wasn't out there towards the beginning part of the season, that's been big. They had to mix and match that, and for the Milwaukee Brewers, they have really been able to find some good young gun pitchers that have been able to step up in a big way for this team. So that has been a big reason why they've been able to surge this far this season. Then this game, I think, is a very fascinating one as well. We've got ourselves the Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, as I'm doing this, we're not seeing any numbers for Eric Lauer versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but for Yamamoto, it's been a little bit up and down. He's either been amazing or he's been amazingly average over his last few starts. Meanwhile, for Eric Lauer, he's been one of the biggest surprises in all of baseball for me this year.
You're facing the Toronto Blue Jays, who are the best contact team in baseball, at least as far as my numbers say in terms of the strikeout props. They're averaging 3.86 strikeouts per game against starting pitching, 3.9 against righties, 3.75 against lefties. I will be fascinated to see what this number is with regards to Yamamoto, because he's striking out a lot of guys lately, and this is a Blue Jays team that has had some issues with aces. Flaherty had 7, Skubal had 7, but they are a very good contact team here. So I'll be very fascinated to see what the strikeout number is. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of people say this is a World Series preview between these two teams. And, the Dodgers strike out a ton themselves. If you look at their numbers, especially against lefties, 5.06 strikeouts. If you look at the last 4 lefties, they had 1 against Liberatore, who has not been very good lately. But Lodolo had 11, Crochet had 10, Quintana had 5, which feels like 10 for a lot of pitchers. So Lauer could rack up some strikeouts. The only thing is he doesn't go deep in a lot of games a ton. He does it occasionally, but he's not good for, he's rarely good for 6-7 inning outings. So can he go over his low number in 4 or 5 innings? Certainly think there's a chance here. So that's a number I'll certainly be watching as well for Sunday.
And I do think that that is a number very much worth watching. And I do want to ask you about this as well. How much do you take a look at sort of like the last 3 weeks, last 30 days worth of data versus the entire season's worth of data? And I bring that up because the LA Dodgers have been tremendous with their offense at home this year. They lead the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home. But if you look since the beginning of the month of July, that offense has taken a big giant nosedive.
I'm definitely a fan of the smaller sample sizes, especially since the All-Star break, because you're getting a more accurate representation. Sure, you take a look what happened back in April and May, and you kind of weigh those numbers. Certainly, if there's pitchers who are facing the team once again from that time of year, and I'll give you a great example. The Giants, since the All-Star break, have had just 3 K-prop overs, which is back on July 18th. So we are almost a month since the All-Star break, and they've had just 3 K-prop overs and a whole bunch of unders, and they were a very over team beforehand. So you certainly want to boil this stuff down to these little periods and stuff, because it gives you a more accurate look at it. Now, certainly, look, when you're looking at the K-props and the outs and stuff like that, you have to look at the quality of pitchers that they faced. And yeah, the Giants have not faced a lot of good pitchers since the All-Star break, but certainly that's something to kind of take a look at here. That's why baseball is a very tough sport to kind of figure out when it comes to betting because there's so many numbers. But if you can boil it down to some formulas and certain things that you look at, it at least becomes a little easier to kind of, look at certain things and eliminate other things that you shouldn't be looking at.
And I think that that's such great advice by you, Matt, as it is always just very complex to be taking a look at, all right, how do I weigh the full season data versus the last 30 days? Sometimes you might want to go a little bit bigger. Sometimes you might want to go a little bit smaller, and you do a great job of being able to find that balance. And Matt, anything else for Sunday that you're going to be taking a look at, as we've got all 30 teams in action, though, as we're doing this podcast? Few games are presently off the board.
Well, we'll talk about the Giants and Nationals. My goodness, Mackenzie Gore has been terrible the last couple of starts. This is a guy that was so good, and I don't know if it's the innings. I don't know if he's going to have an injury after one of these starts, and they're going to shut him down for a little bit, but Mackenzie Gore has not been very good. Now, this is a Nats team that is starting a West Coast trip, and actually, they're not really on the West Coast after this series because they're playing in Kansas City afterwards, so you have to watch for the good old Sunday travel day lineup potentially for the Nationals, although I don't know who else and how much worse it can get if you have one of those lineups, but that's certainly something to watch for. And as I always say when we do these podcasts for Sunday, make sure to check out the lineups because there are certain teams that kind of put out different lineups for Sunday. Maybe they sit catchers, and we know backup catchers are really bad when it comes to strikeout props and certainly don't help unders, but that's always something to take a look at here. And then, of course, when you have the doubleheader on Saturday between the Braves and the Marlins, that means certainly you want to pay attention to bullpen usage. My guy, Cal Quantrill, he's the type of guy I feel like who could eat some innings potentially if the bullpen gets used a lot. Now, I know that Gusto went a lot in game one. We know that Alcantara usually goes a lot in game two, and Quantrill's usually a 5-inning guy. But if for some reason a lot of arms get used, maybe Quantrill's outs over comes into play, although he's pretty much been resigned to a 5-inning kind of guy this season. And look, when you look at this Jason Alexander, he's put up some good numbers too, and he's going up against Max Fried on Sunday. There's no line for that one, but Alexander's been impressive. And if his K-prop number is a little bit lower, I might look at the over. The Yankees have been a tough team to decide about. They've gone under their K-prop in 8 of their last 9 games. But the funny thing is they're going under the K-prop, but it's still a high number, 4, 5, 7. They're just going under some higher numbers. So watch what Jason Alexander's number is on Sunday because he could get some strikeouts in a Sunday game against the Yankees.
And for those wondering, no relation to George Costanza right there, but Jason Alexander, ever since he got out of Sacramento, because that's what really drove up his numbers, having to pitch those few appearances for the Athletics out there in that bandbox of a ballpark. He's been quite a bit better, and a man that's always at his best. That would be you, Matt. You do a tremendous job over there at ESPN Radio Richmond with the Prop Queen website and the podcast and so much more. And I know that it's more than just baseball. Doing a great job on the college sports front as well. So love to give people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. I post all my plays. It's tracked in the Action Network app, so you get all the accurate numbers for how my season is going. And as always, if anybody has any questions when it comes to props or first threes, first fives, all those different exotic markets, I'm certainly here to answer any questions. And as you mentioned, college football, we're getting closer to week 0. I've posted all of my win total plays. They are my pinned tweet up on my Twitter account. So certainly any questions, I try and do projections for all the teams across America in college football. And then, of course, as you mentioned, college basketball, we're getting full schedules coming out. And so that's certainly something to take a look at as we get closer and closer to college basketball. So as I always like to say, the hamster wheel known as the sports world keeps on turning.
It certainly does, and Matt, he does a tremendous job of grinding through it all 12 months of the year, and every single time he joins me, lends such good insights. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
This message is brought to you by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
As soon as I found out we were going to have a baby, I wanted to make sure that whatever we slept on or came into contact with was safe from toxins or anything harmful. So I bought Koyuchi sheets and towels. Koyuchi was exactly what we needed. Not only are they certified organic to the highest standards, they're also just amazing. We have the Koyuchi Organic Crinkled Percale Sheets. They're 100% organic cotton and woven to be naturally cooling, super soft, and breathable. And I honestly just sleep better with them. Of course, now our baby registry has a lot of Koyuchi on it too. Crib sheets, blankets, and a snuggle sack. All the best for him or her. Everything we have from Koyuchi feels good, looks good, and is safe for our whole family.
Get 15% off when you visit Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com to get 15% off. Koyuchi.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, who does such an excellent job taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. Any intra-league games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we start things off with 901, 902 on the card, the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road, facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mike Burrows is on the bump for the Buccos. Zach Little hopes to come up big for the Reds, and the Reds are between a -105 to a -112 sort of pick'em team, between -110 to a -104. That number on Pittsburgh, and the total is 8. The over is between -110 to a -115. Under is between -105 to a -110, and it's at the Reds at a -138. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line now. With Zach Little, he needs to do a better job of keeping the ball in the yard. He's given up 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, a 3.46 ERA because he's been allowing a lot of solo shots compared to a 42 fielding dependent. He does give up fewer than 2.5 walks per 9 innings, so does a good job there. Doesn't necessarily give you a lot of strikeouts with 6.2 punch-outs per 9 innings, while Mike Burrows is a little bit the opposite. 4.45 ERA, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but 9+ strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been much better recently. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but I do think that for the Pittsburgh Pirates, a big issue that you've got with this team is that even though Little has given up a whole bunch of home runs, he doesn't have really that threat of giving up a ton of bombs in this game because you've only got 3 guys on the roster for the Pittsburgh Pirates with over 5 home runs this year. Oneil Cruz, along with Andrew McCutchen and Brian Reynolds. And you got a lot of guys that they're just not producing at the plate right now. Jack Swinitsky, Jared Trollo, Oneil Cruz, Alexander Canario. So many guys that are hitting a 225 or lower. You haven't been able to get a lot out of Brian Reynolds this year. You've had Nick Gonzalez actually hit for about a 280 for this team. And when he's been out there, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has been solid, but he's been in and out of the lineup. And then for the Cincinnati Reds, it's all about having Ellie De La Cruz being able to pop off. 19+ home runs, over a 350 on base, all those stolen bases. They do have a bit more batting average as well with the likes of TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, Miguel Andujar, allowing at least a 270. And for Friedel, he's been able to give you above a 360 on base as well. You don't have a ton of pop in this team, but Austin Hayes has been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. You've got Neovalli Marte off the injured list, give you some good production. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they had to start Braxton Ashcraft yesterday, who's been mainly coming out of the bullpen, so that means that this bullpen is a little bit more gutted coming into this one as well. You still have had some solid guys with Isaac Madsen, Dennis Santana, both posting up a sub-350 ERA. When Carmen Malodzinski has come out of the bullpen, he's been fine. As a starter, he was rough. Yohan Ramirez, he's been giving you about a 4 ERA. And then on the flip side for the Cincinnati Reds, even though Emilio Pagan gives up a little bit more of the deep ball than I would like, he's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Tony Santin has been a little bit shaky over the last few days, but still a sub-350 ERA. Brent Suter has been pretty presentable as well, and I do think that for Little, he's going to go out there against a Pirates team that just has not been able to generate runs and get the job done for you. I did set the Reds at a -138, so going to be willing to lay that money line. I did bank back total at 8.3. I'm in on the over. 903, 904 on the card. The Miami Marlins are on the road against the Atlanta Braves. Joey Wentz hopes to have the Marlins wincing in pain, and Cal Quantrill is on the bump for Miami. Miami is an underdog between +108 to a +114, anywhere between -123 to a -132. That number on Atlanta. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Under is -125, and the over is +105, and on the 8.5, over is -120. The under is even, and with the Miami Marlins, I did set them at a +129, so I'm willing to lay up to a -128 here with the Braves money line. For Cal Quantrill, he's just a guy that I don't want to be backing too much because he pitches to a lot of contact, and he's been getting hit relatively hard this year. He's been giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, 7 punch-outs per 9. Now, the 5.21 ERA, that's backed up by a 4.44 fielding independent, but he comes in having given up 7 runs in his last start against the Houston Astros, so that's very much less than savory Montgomery. And when it comes to Cal Quantrill, his home and road splits are relatively equal, but on the road, he does give up over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. And for Joey Wentz, he's been bouncing around from team to team. He's been on 3 different teams as far this season, but he seems to be finding it home with the Atlanta Braves. 4 starts, 5 total appearances, 3.09 ERA with this bunch. He's been keeping the ball in the yard in these 5 appearances, 1 home run allowed in 23 and a third innings. Now, you take a look overall for the season, 8.5 strikeouts, 3.3 walks per 9 innings. The overall ERA is 3.65 between all the teams, but just a 3.19 fielding dependent, so he's been solid there. Now, it is an Atlanta Braves team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Dylan Lee, along with Pierce Johnson, have been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. Desmond Hernandez, coming back from the minors, has been pretty solid as well, but they don't have a lot of offensive support. Now, with Austin Riley hitting the injured list, along with Ronald Acuna Jr., not great there. Jurickson Profar had that nice robbery of a home run yesterday, but he has had a little bit of a rough time at the plate this far this season as well. Matt Olson has been your main power hitter with 18 home runs, above a 350 on base. Drake Baldwin has been rock solid as well, 13 bombs. He's hitting above a 275 as well, but I mean, the big issue for this team, Michael Harris along with Ozzie Albies, both between 9 and 10 home runs, both give you less than a 300 on base, and for Harris in particular, a 270 on base. That's just not great. And then you've got a guy, Nick Allen, who's got 0 home runs at a 225 average this year. That's just not going to cut it. Meanwhile, you've got a Miami Marlins bullpen that since the beginning of the month of June, they have been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. A lot of guys have been able to step up for this team. Ronnie Enriquez, Tyler Phillips, even throwing there someone like Lake Bakar. These guys have been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Anthony Bender has been solid as well, but he is right now dealing with perhaps being on the paternity list, so congratulations to him. But you do have a Miami Marlins team that has been a top 6 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home, with Kyle Stowers leading the way with 25 bombs, hitting for over a 365 on base. You don't have a lot of mashers on this team, as you've only got 2 other guys that would be able to supply over 7 home runs this season. Otto Lopez, 11 home runs, hitting at 245. Augustin Ramirez, not hitting for a ton of average at a 237 and a 284 on base, but 17 home runs. But Xavier Edwards is hitting at 300. You've had Liam Hicks move the line with about a 350 on base. Then a lot of guys that are hitting in the neighborhood about a 235 to 240. Dane Myers, Javier Sonja, guys like this. But I do think that for the Miami Marlins, they get to Joey Wentz a little bit in this spot. I do think that there's a bit of regression here. So my total at a 9.1. So here at the 8.5, I like the over. But with the Braves, I'm going to be willing to lay the money line up to a minus 128. 905, 906 on the card. The New York Mets are on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Quinn Priester is on the bump for the Brewers. Sean Manaea goes for the Mets. 8.5 is the total, over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115. And the Brewers are between minus 117 to a minus 126 favorites. Between plus 104 to a plus 108 is that number on the Mets. And for the Brewers, I made them a minus 134. So I'm going to be willing to lay the money line for Quinn Priester. He's not a guy that's going to cause you to swing and miss a lot, but he's been able to do a pretty rock solid job in terms of just keeping things out in front of him and not making mistakes. 3 walks to 1 home run per 9 innings with his 7.5 strikeouts per 9 now. Fielding independent is about 401 compared to that 305 ERA, but he has given up 2 home runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts. He's really been able to put it together. And for Sean Manaea, ever since he's come off the injury list, he's been able to do a good job of getting a lot of whiffs as well. He's up to 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, in his last start, he did experience a bit of regression, giving up 5 runs to the Cleveland Guardians, so that was a little bit less than savory, but 3.52 ERA, 3.54 fielding dependent with about 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's been solid, and for the New York Mets, this has been a bullpen that has been a bit hit or miss throughout the season, but they did a nice job fortifying that at the trade deadline as they were able to pick up Ryan Helsley to help things out. Gregory Soto, I don't think is too much of a big addition, but he had to start Reed Garrett yesterday as an opener, so it's a little bit of a rough situation because he's been one of the better relievers for this team, and they just have had a lot of unreliability of guys like Huskar Zobin and company. Meanwhile, for the Mets, it's also a team that is top heavy with regards to their lineup. Quartet of guys with at least 19 home runs this year. Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto. With Soto, give you about a 380 on base, 350 for Pete Alonso, and then Brandon Nimmo hasn't hit a home run in quite a while. And Francisco Lindor, ever since he suffered that lower body injury like 2 or so months ago, hasn't necessarily been quite the same. And then you do have a lot of guys at the bottom of the fold like Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Tyrone Taylor, the entirety of the catcher spot, hitting at 230 or lower. Everyone other than Beatty hitting for a single-digit amount of homers, so that's an issue. Jeff McNeil has been solid for this lineup, and for the Brewers, just they continue to have these really ridiculous home and road splits with their offense. It's unbelievable. They're averaging 5.75 runs per game away from them, 4.2 runs per game at home. So that has been really interesting to take a look at, to say the least. And it's not even like this is a power hitting team. They're in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at bat basis. Right now, the only player that is healthy with over 10 home runs this year is Christian Yelich, 21 bombs, hitting for about a 340 on base as Jackson Chourio, Reese Hoskins are dealing with injuries, but just a whole bunch of guys that are finding a way to get on base, move the line, as you got Yelich, Caleb Durbin, Bryce Terang, William Contreras, Al Frelick, all give you between about a 340 to a 355 on base. Isaac Collins is at right around about a 400 on base as well. And for the Brewers, this bullpen has been able to fortify itself a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA since June 1st, as you've had the likes of Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill all step up, be able to give a sub 225 ERA. Nick Mears has been able to give you a sub 3 as well. Grant Anderson has been relatively solid, and for the Mets, you just don't have that reliability. So with the Brewers, I did set them on the money line at a minus 134. I'm going to be willing to lay it. I do think that Priester experiences a bit of regression, set my total at 8.8. I like the over. 907, 908 on the card. The Chicago Cubs are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Sonny Gray is on the bump for the Cards. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs. The Cubs are anywhere between minus 117 to minus 125 favorites, and between plus 105 to a plus 110 is that number on St. Louis. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And for the Cardinals, I set them at a plus 105. So anything above plus 105, that is my buy point on this money line. For Shota Imanaga, I just still believe that he's doing for quite a bit of regression. 3.12 ERA, but a 4.47 fielding dependent. 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, getting only about 7.1 strikeouts per 9. He does a good job of not giving up a lot of walks, but even in that start against the Chicago Cubs, because he gave up so much contact, gave up 7 runs. That was about 2 starts ago, and for Sonny Gray, he has been regressing himself. 4.21 ERA. Now, if you look at the fielding independent numbers, that's more around about a 3.09, as he's giving up 1.5 walks per 9 innings, just over 1 home run per 9 as well. But now he does have to face off against a Chicago Cubs lineup that is right there with the LA Dodgers, top of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and you just have a lot of guys in general that they know how to be able to move the line, get on base. Kyle Tucker is above a 375 on base, 18 plus home runs out of him. Michael Busch, 350 on base, 20 plus home runs there. Nico Horner, not necessarily hitting for power, but he's been able to above a 285 for this unit. Dave Suzuki, Pete Crow Armstrong, both had 27 home runs apiece. Both of these guys hitting above a 250. You absolutely love to see that 1 through 9. It is just so fortified, and it's just so strong. And for the Chicago Cubs, it is a bullpen that's starting to regress a little bit, but I mean, still, overall for the season, they've been in the upper half of the big leagues with just a lot of good finds in general. Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomerantz, Caleb Theobar, Brad Keller. You just go down the list of guys. They're right now posting up a sub 320 ERA. It's wild, and they pick up Taylor Rogers at the trade deadline from the Reds as well. And then on the other end, you've been able to have the St. Louis Cardinals still be able to maintain with their bullpen. They do trade away Ryan Elsley, Phil Matone, and a few others at the trade deadline, but likes of Riley O'Brien, Jojo Romero give you a sub 325 ERA. Matt Svanson, these guys have been pretty solid in this bullpen, and for the Cardinals, the big issue for them has been the offense. You've got Wilson Contreras, who's been able to supply 16 home runs. He's up to about a 340 in terms of his on base, but I mean, the rest of the lineup just has not been able to hold up there under the bargain. Nolan Arenado's been in and out of the lineup, and even when he's been in it, he hasn't necessarily been that great. Lars Nootbaar only hitting about a 230, though he is up to 12 home runs. Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, pair of guys hitting between about a 275 to 285, and Burleson is up to 14 home runs. Ivan Herrera, he's been able to hit about a 300 with 10 home runs as well, but that said, the young guys like Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, just not hitting for a lot of average. Scott, 29 stolen bases. That said, I do think that for the Cardinals, they get a solid start here out of Sonny Gray. I do think that Shota Imanaga continues to experience some regression, so I did set my total at 8.3. I like the over and the St. Louis Cardinals on the money line. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. The Washington Nationals are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Justin Verlander goes for the Giants. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for Washington. Washington is a plus 112 to a plus 120 underdog. Minus 130 to minus 137, that number on San Francisco. It is a total over and under, both at minus 110. Set the Giants at a minus 136. So right now seeing a lot of like minus 130 or so. I'm going to be willing to back the money line of San Francisco. Recognize that Justin Verlander is not what he once was. His strikeout stuff is way down. He's only getting about 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has been able to do still a solid job of being able to keep the ball in the yard. Only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings this year, and comes in really good form as he has given up 7 total earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts. So I do like to see that. And for Mackenzie Gore, I know that Mid-Major Matt was mentioning this fact that he just doesn't enter in great form. He's got a 4.29 ERA, doing for some positivity with a 3.70 fielding independent, but he's been giving up quite a bit of the deep ball recently. 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he has given up a grand total of 8 home runs over the course of his last 4 starts, and he's given up at least 6 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts as well. Now he pitches in a pitcher-friendly friendly ballpark in this ordeal against a San Francisco Giants team that is in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Rafael Devers went deep yesterday, but 7 home runs in 45 games and hitting at 236. That's not what they signed up for. You've got Jungle Leaves starting to hit about a 260 for this unit. Matt Chapman, 340 on base with 16 home runs. He's been able to move the line, but not hitting for a lot of average. William Adames, all of a sudden, hitting above a 275 over the last month and a half, and he's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers since the beginning of the month of July, so that's all, but still, bottom of the fold, the entirety of the catcher spot. Tyler Fitzgerald, guys like this hitting a 230 or lower. That has been a big giant issue for the team and for the Giants. If you look overall for the season, they're a top 7 team with regards to bullpen ERA. They do lose a lot of those key pieces, so as you lose Eric Miller due to the injured list, Tyler Rogers gets traded away along with Camilo Udavall, but you still do pick up at the trade deadline. Jose Buto has been a pretty good long guy. Ryan Walker needs to pick it up about a 4.05 ERA, and Carson Seymour has been an issue, but still do have Randy Rodriguez in that bullpen as well for the Washington Nationals. This is a bullpen that ranks dead last in the big leagues in terms of ERA, as they traded away Kyle Finnegan at the deadline. You've been able to have Cole Henry give you a sub-4 ERA and Connor Pilkington as well, and then other than that, it's nothing good. Jackson Rutledge, Orlando Rebalta, PJ Poland, Eduardo Salazar, Andre Lara, just so many guys. They're posting up above a 4.50 ERA. And then for the Washington Nationals, actually a top 10 team in terms of run creation away from home, averaging about 4.6 to 4.7 runs per game. James Wood finally went deep yesterday. He's up to 25 bombs, about a 360 on base. He had really been cold since the home run derby, but you've got Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Bell, and CJ Abrams, all between 14 to 15 home runs apiece. These guys are all pumping out the bombs away from home and not necessarily so much at home. For Abrams, he's hitting about a 270, and you've had Luis Garcia hit about a 265 as well. Not a lot of power there. The young guys, they're very similar. You've got the likes of a Brady House, Robert Hassel, Dallin Lyle, hitting in the neighborhood about a 242 to 250. They're not necessarily supplying the deep ball, but they're finding a way to be able to get on base. So it's an interesting ordeal here with the Giants. I do think that they get to Gora, who's just in bad form, so I did set my total at 8.6. I like the over, and I do like the Giants on the money line. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the Colorado Rockies, and they're on the road. They're facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks, as Brandon Pfaadt looks to put up a battle for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and right now it's a little to be determined who's going to be on the bump for Colorado. So this is a game that is presently off the board. Right now I am seeing the projections that we are going to get Tanner Gordon, and if we do indeed get Mr. Gordon going up against Brandon Pfaadt of the Arizona Diamondbacks, I set my money line price at a minus 232, and I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 120 or so with regards to this run line of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and set a total of a 9.3, so a 9 or less. I'm going to be in on the over, a 9.5 or higher, the under end for Brandon Pfaadt. He has had a very inconsistent season, to say the least. His ERA is well above a 4.5, and the swing and miss stuff just has not been there for him this season. He's only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has done a rock solid job in terms of not giving up a lot of walks. His walks per 9 rate is still below a 2.3, but that said, he has just been getting banged around a little bit too much. But I will say, he's been a whole lot better at home rather than on the road. He's only giving up 3 home runs in 64 and a third innings. At home, on the road, he has given up 17 home runs in about 64 innings. So, yeah, that's been a little bit of an issue for him. And his ERA at home, it drops by about a full point as compared to on the road, as he's got a 3.64 home ERA, well above a 5 ERA away from home. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, are going to need a good start out of him because they've got a bottom 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA, with having Shelby Miller no longer in the fold for this bullpen. You're relying upon the likes of John Curtis with 2 S's, Kyle Bacchus, Juan Modillo, Jalen Beeks, a whole bunch of guys. They're posting up a 4 ERA or higher, but for the Diamondbacks, still a top 8 offense in terms of runs per game. You do lose Josh Naylor at the trade deadline along and Eugenio Suarez, but still have Corbin Carroll pounding out 24 home runs. He looks to be much more himself now. He was struggling coming off the injury list. He looks to be back, though. You've got Geraldo Perdomo, give you about a 380 on base. Lord Scurriel has been hitting about a 250 this far this season, and then you've had a catcher spot situation that's been rough with all the injuries, but James McCann is hitting for about a 350 on base. He's been able to hold down the fort for this team, and then on the other end, you've got yourself a Colorado Rockies team that is dead last in the big leagues in terms of on-base percentage away from home. They trade away quite a few of their good sluggers at the deadline as well. You still do have Hunter Goodman, who overall this season has been able to provide 22 home runs. This season, 13 of them have come away from home, but you don't have a lot of guys that are really doing a great job finding a way on base when they've been away from home, as you just have a poo-poo platter of different guys that are posting up a batting average of a 220 or lower, like Mickey Moniak, Jordan Beck. You're able to throw in there the entirety of the shortstop spot with Orlando Arcia not being great when he's been on the road. Ezekiel Tovar, you just go down the list. It's been less than amazing. Brenton Doyle is sitting at 205 with regards to his on base with 1 home run away from home. So, yeah, that's not great. And for the Colorado Rockies, bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA themselves, as Victor Vodnik Paddock has been pretty solid in this bullpen. He's been able to give you about a 4 ERA, and Juan Mejia has been able to give you a few okay innings as well, but you've had so many guys fall down the toilet bowl, like Seth Alverson, who's down dealing with a little bit of injury, Jaden Hill, throw in there Zach Ognos, Ryan Rolson. You've got a lot of guys posting up an ERA that is well above a 4.80, so I do think that for the Colorado Rockies, they're going to get a bit smoked here. Now, you do have Tanner Gordon, who's honestly been not too bad this far this season, but it's such a small sample size, I can't take it too seriously. He's got a 6.59 ERA now, and he started out the season very, very hot. In his last 2 starts, in 5 2/3 innings, 14 runs, 13 of which have been earned. I don't think that he's as bad as that, but I mean, in his first 4 appearances, he had given up 200 runs or fewer, so I make of that what you will. He's not giving up a ton of walks. He's giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings. Home runs per 9 rate is right around about 1.5, but it's never been a swing and miss guy. Do think that the Diamondbacks get to him relatively good, so 9 or less in on the over 9.5 or the under, and with the Arizona and the Diamondbacks, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 122 with regards to that run line. For the Rockies, I would need at least a plus 233 to take a shot there. 9:13, 9:14 on the card. It is the Minnesota Twins, and they're going to be playing against the Kansas City Royals. Ryan Bergert is on the bump for the Royals, and it's all to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Minnesota Twins. So this is a game that's off the board, and we've been seeing conflicting reports on this one, as there are some places for the Twins that are showing Zebby Matthews. There are some places that are showing Jose Urena, and if you do get Jose Urena, I'd probably be setting the Royals at more around about a minus 130 or minus 135 on the money line. If you do get Zebby Matthews, Royals are more around about a minus 113, and the total on this game is going to be an 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher to the under if you do get Zebby Matthews, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under if you get Jose Urena. Urena's all over games. He does not give you a lot of swing and miss stuff. He is on team number 4 this season, by the way, if you do indeed get him. So that's something that's a little bit less than savory, to say the least. And for Ryan Bergert, because we just don't know what we're going to be getting out of the Minnesota Twins with regards to that starting rotation, but that's it. I'll dive into the bullpen in a minute. But for Bergert, he's been a very solid pitcher going back to his time with the San Diego Padres. I really like this kid's upside. Overall, about a 3.83 ERA. The fielding independence is a little bit higher. It's a little bit north of a 4, but he does a relatively okay job of being able to give you swings and misses. Not like blowaway stuff, but in that neighborhood, about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Does need to reduce on the 4.4 walks per 9, but overall, he's been able to do a very rock-solid job for this team, and he's backed up by a Kansas City Royals team that is in the top 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Lucas Erceg, Carlos Aceves, these 2 guys have been very rock-solid with a sub-3 ERA. Now, they've been dealing with some injuries with this bullpen. Steven Cruz is on the injured list, but they do now get back Daniel Lynch and Hunter Harvey, and for Lynch, he's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, and for the Royals, they've been a little bit better on offense recently. They do pick up Mikey Yastrzemski. That's big. He's able to give you above a 335 on base, especially with the fact that John Rave, Jack Aguilon, Nick Lofton, these young guys just have not panned out for this team. Miguel Garcia, though, he's hitting a 300 with a double-figure amount of homers. Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, both are up to 18-plus home runs, and both are hitting above at 250 now as well. Bobby Witt Jr. hitting well above at 280. He's able to give you some stolen bases. The lack of power across the board with Adam Frazier, Kyle Isbell not giving you too much, that's been a bit of an issue, but on all, the Royals have been a little bit better than what you would see from their season-long numbers, being a bottom-7 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and this is a Twins lineup that is just gutted at this point. You've right now got Matt Wallner on the paternity list. Congratulations to Bayer Buxton on the injury list. And I will say, for Royce Lewis, ever since he's come off the injury list, he's been pretty solid since his second stint on the injury list. Hitting more like a 275. He's been able to provide the team a little bit of pop recently, so that helps out a little bit. Cody Clemens has been able to give you double-figure amount of homers, but I mean, there's just not a lot of guys moving the line for the team. Ryan Jeffers, he's up to hitting about a 250. You've had Austin Martin be able to give you a little bit of something in a very small sample size, but I mean, now you're going to be looking to guys like Brooks Lee, Edouard Julien to be able to step up, and you just don't have a lot of power with this team in general. And this is a Twins bullpen that's currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've got the likes of Justin Topa, Cody Funderburg, Cole Sands, Michael Tonkin, a whole bunch of guys with above a 4 ERA because they sold away that entire bullpen. So that's not necessarily amazing. And then for Jose Urena, just has never been a power pitcher, below 7 strikeouts per 9 innings throughout his career. Just not a guy that I really have a lot of faith in whatsoever. So I do think that the Royals, they should be a pretty sizable favorite here. If you do indeed get Mr. Urena, I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 134 there. And then I'd be setting a total to where an 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. Again, if you get Zebby Matthews, more like a minus 112 or so with the Royals, and then an 8 or less to the over 8.5 or higher. The under 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Houston Astros are on the road. They're facing off against the New York Yankees as Mad Max Fried is on the bump for the Yankees and Jason Alexander. No, not George Costanza is on the bump for Houston. Right now, this game pretty much across the board is off the board, so that makes it a little bit challenging. The lone thing I'm finding is a FanDuel opener with a total of 9. Over is even, and the under is -120, and the Yankees -184 on the money line, +104 on the run line. You're going to be finding the Astros at a +154, and I'd be willing to take that Yankees run line. I set them at a -196 on the money line, and I pretty much made it to where even money or better, I'd be willing to lay that run half. For Max Fried, it's been a rough go of it for him. 3+ runs allowed, and now 5 out of his last 6 starts, but overall for the season, has still been pretty solid, and I do think that he's going to be able to find it once again. He's really not hurting himself, as he's only given up 0.6 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, 278 ERA, 305 fielding independent. I thought that there was going to be a little bit of regression with him. There has been, and now I think that he's going to be able to find his level once again. Meanwhile, for Jason Alexander, if you look at the overall season numbers, they are pretty gross, as he's got a fielding independent of a 5.03, 5.97 ERA, giving up about 4.3 walks, 7.5 strikeouts per 9. But if you look at his numbers with the Astros, he has made 5 total appearances. He's been much better. 3.16 ERA. He's still only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9. And he's not a power pitcher, but has kept the ball in the yard. He's given up 2 home runs in his 25 2/3 innings with Houston, and he is backed up by a bullpen that does rank in the top 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've got the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Caleb Ort, Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader, a whole bunch of guys. They're giving you a sub-3.25 ERA, and it's an Astros lineup that is starting to find it a little bit more with Jeremy Pena back in the fold. He's hitting above a 300 for this unit. Jose Altuve up to 20 bombs. He's hitting about a 285. Christian Walker, Yanier Diaz, both below a 300 on base, but both would be able to give you 16 home runs. You've got as well Jake Myers hitting above a 300. So this is a lineup that has some relatively good pop in it. And for the New York Yankees, getting back Aaron Judge just so absolutely massive for them, as when you have a guy that's out that's giving you over a 440 on base with 37 home runs, you're going to feel that a little bit. But you still have plenty of mashers in this lineup, as it's been a small sample size, but Giancarlo Stanton, 10 home runs on 129 at-bats. Cody Bellinger, along with Trent Grisham, both between 19 and 20 home runs apiece, actually 21 now for Trent Grisham, 350 on base out of him. As Jazz Chisholm, he's been able to give you 19 bombs, more like a 330 on base. Has been regressing a little bit with that on-base percentage, and the Yankees are a little bit of an all-or-nothing team, represented by Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells, a pair of guys with 15+ home runs, but a pair of guys with a 285 on base or less, both hitting a 220 or lower, and the Yankees bullpen has been quite a bit of an issue this season, as Tim Hill has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. He's been solid, but deal with the injury to Fernando Cruz has not been great. You've had Luke Weaver look quite a bit better recently. He and Yuri De Los Santos are giving you a sub-3 ERA. They do pick up at the trade deadline David Bednar, along with as well Camilo Duvall, so that should help things out a tad. But like so, Brent Hedrick, JT Brubaker, Mark Leiter Jr., they've had a cavalcade of different guys. They've just not been able to do a great job. But again, I do think that with Jason Alexander gonna get hit around a little bit in this spot. I did set my total at 80.9, so if we do get that 9, I'll be in on the under end with the Yankees even money or better, like the run line 9:17, 9:18 on the card. The Athletics are on the road. They're facing off against the Baltimore Orioles. Cade Povich goes for the Orioles. Luis Morales is on the bump for the Athletics. 9 is the total. The over and under both at -110, and for Baltimore, they are between -118 to -120 on the money line, between even money to +107. That number on the Athletics, and I did set my total 9.4. I'm going to be in on the over. Now for Cade Povich, it's been a very rough season for him. He's posting up an ERA that is well above a 450, as he has been just giving up way too much hard contact in general. For Mr. Povich, 5.25 ERA with 1.5 home runs and 3.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. So he's been a good power pitcher, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he has given up at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. That dates all the way back to May, because they had to send him down to the minor league level because he just was ineffective in general. And then for Luis Morales, he's going to be making only his second appearance of the season. He made a 2-inning long relief appearance a little bit earlier on, so not going to take too much out of that. But if you take a look at what he's done at the minor league level this year between AAA Las Vegas and Midland, he's been solid. 3.73 ERA. He gets strikeouts, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's a little bit wild with about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but 4.40 ERA at the PCL. That's the Pacific Coast League. It's a juice ball league, and it is really hard to pitch in that league in general. Honestly, not too bad, but you are going to be backed up by a bullpen that has been brutal for the Athletics. They're in the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've actually been able to have a few relatively good long guys out there, like a Sean Newcomb, Michael Kelly. Both of these guys are below a 2.50 ERA. Elvis Alvarado has not been bad, about a 3.25 ERA, but that said, now you're taking a look at having to rely upon guys like Justin Sterner, Oswaldo Bido, throwing their Grant Ullman, a whole bunch of guys. They're posting up an ERA above a 4. Tyler Ferguson has not been great either, but you do have a Athletics lineup that has been right around about league average in terms of run production, and you now have a trio of guys give you at least 22 home runs and a quartet of guys with at least 21 home runs. Brett Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom, Shea Langeliers, Nick Kurtz, all between 21 and 23 home runs, and every single one of these guys is hitting at least a 260, including Shea Langeliers, who couldn't hit for average to save his life last season. You've got Kurtz up to about a 390 on base. You've had some relatively good production out of Jacob Wilson, who's continuing it about a 312. That said, he's been dealing with a bit of injury, so that's been a bit rough for the team still on the injured list, but I mean, they've had plenty of guys be able to pick it up without him, as you've got Gio Urshela is able to move the line a little bit for this team as well, and then on the other end for the Baltimore Orioles, just a vastly different team with their offense at home rather than away from home. For the Orioles, 3.5 runs per game away from home, that is dead last in the American League. More like 5.2 runs per game at home. That is a top 8 mark in all of baseballs. You've had Gunnar Henderson do a nice job of gunnering some home runs, 13 bombs, hitting about a 285, and Jackson Alday's up to 14 home runs, hitting about a 250. They do trade away the likes of Ramon Laureano, Ryan O'Hearn and company at the deadline, but you get back Adley Rutschman, who, since coming off the injury list, he has been a whole heck of a lot better than he was for the rest of the season. Too little, too late, but since coming off the injury list, hitting above a 300, you do like to see that, and you've had Jordan Westberg be able to give you a home run every about 14 or so at bats. He's been giving you about a 270 average. He's up to 13 bombs and about 250 at bats, so maybe oversold that a little bit, but still give you some relatively solid power. But the Orioles also have a pretty brutal bullpen as well. They're in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. You've got Felix Bautista currently on the injury list. Cade Sauer, Diedrich Enns have been able to give you a sub 250 ERA, but it's such a small sample size that you really can't rely upon that. And then you've got the likes of Yaramil Hidalgo along with Matt Bowman throwing there as well. Some of these younger guys like your Grant Wolfram, Corbin Martin that are all give you above a 4 ERA. So I do think that you get a plentiful amount of runs in this one. So I told 9.4, so I like the 9 over, and I do like the Orioles up to a minus 134 on the money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Angels are on the road. They're facing off against the Detroit Tigers. As you've got Casey Mize on the bump for Detroit. Jack Janowitz is on the bump for the Detroit Tigers. Right now, we're finding a FanDuel opener of the Detroit Tigers at minus $2, plus 105 on the run line, and plus 168 is that number on the Angels. 9 is total. The over is minus 105. The under is minus 115, and made my total in 8.9. So here at the 9, I'm going to be in on the under, but was willing to go up to a minus 110 with regards to this Tigers run line. So we're going to be riding with that. For Kachanowicz, just a guy that I want absolutely no part of whatsoever. He only gets about 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up well over 4 walks per 9 innings. He gives up the deep ball with his 5.85 ERA, 5.57 fielding opponent with 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I just don't know what this guy really does well. He's given up 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. They tried to take him out of the starting rotation. They put him back in, and in his last start, he gave up 5 runs. So, not great there. Meanwhile, for Casey Mize, he's been able to do a nice job of being able to just keep things out in front of him and not have self-inflicted wounds. 2.3 walks per 9 innings. Not a power pitcher, only about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and we have been seeing quite a bit of regression out of him recently, as he has given up at least 3 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts, but now faces off against an LA Angels team that is very all or nothing at the plate, as they're a bottom 6 team with regards to on-base percentage, a top 6 team with regards to home runs on a per at-bat basis, as you've been able to have Taylor Ward pound out 26 home runs, 307 on base, so, and then you've got Joe Adell, 25 home runs now, but he's only hitting about a 230. Mike Trout, even he's up to 20 home runs, but it's hitting just a 240. Maurice Hilaria's had a miserable year, and he's been dealing with injuries all campaign long. Logan O'Hoppe, 275 on base, but 18 home runs. Zach Neto has moved the line. He's hitting a 270 with 17 home runs, and then Luis Renifo, 292 on base with 5 home runs. That's just not cutting it. And for the LA Angels, this bullpen is not cutting it. They're in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of their ERA. Brock and Roll Burke, Kenley Jansen have both been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Chris Fulmer has not been terrible in long relief, but then you've got the likes of Sam Bachman, Connor Brogdon, Ryan Zephyrian, a whole bunch of guys are posting up above a 4.50 ERA. And then on the other end for the Detroit Tigers, this has been a bullpen that since the beginning of the month of June has been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Will Vest, Brant Herter, both of these guys are giving you a sub 3 ERA, and they do pick up Kyle Finnegan at the trade deadline. But that's not enough to be able to mitigate what else he got, as he still has for the season right around about a 4 ERA. But in the likes of a Tyler Holton, Chase Lee, Tommy Canley, these guys posting up above a 3.85 ERA, that's a bit of a concern. Now for the Detroit Tigers, this has actually been a very rock-solid lineup. Pair of guys in Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green with 25+ home runs, and for Green, he's been able to about a 270. And then just a lot of guys hitting between about a 260 to 270. Javi Baez, Cole Keith, Dylan Dingler, Gary Carpenter was up to 20 home runs, by the way. Zach McKinstry. So you've got a lot of guys who are able to find a way on base. Wencio Perez right around about a 259. So you've got a lot of guys hitting for average. You've got a team that's in the top 8 with regards to runs per game. So I do think that they take it to Kachanowicz. I did set my money line price at a minus 212. I'm going to be looking at that run line up to a minus 110 and did set my total at 8.9. So here at the 9, I'm in on the under. 921, 922 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians are on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox as Davis Martin is on the bump for the White Sox and Slade Cecconi goes for Cleveland. Cleveland between a minus 132 to a minus 137 favorite, plus 112 to a plus 122 is that number on the White Sox. It is the total. The over is minus 120 and the under is even. And with the White Sox, I did set them at a plus 144, so I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Cleveland Guardians. For Davis Martin, he does a nice job in terms of not giving up a lot of walks, but would like to see him get a bit more deception out there. It's 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, only giving up about 2.5 walks per 9, a 4.11 ERA, but 4.61 fielding pen because he does give up all that contact. He's giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings and has allowed at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. He is actually backed up by a bullpen that is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Steven Wilson, Mike Vasil have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You still do have some worry spots in this bullpen, like so Brandon Iser, Jordan Leisure are posting up above a 4 ERA. Grant Taylor has been a little bit all over the place as well, but the real concern that you've got for the White Sox is this lineup. Just not a lot of pop out there. Quartet of guys between 12 and 13 home runs. Luis Robert, Lennon Sosa, Miguel Vargas, and also Andrew Benintendi. But all 3 of these guys, other than Lennon Sosa, hitting below 230. And Sosa's hitting about a 275, which has been solid. Edgar Quiero sitting at 270. And Mike Tauchman has been able to give you about a 365 on base, but has not been able to for a lot of power. But then you just have a poo-poo platter of guys hitting below a 225 for this team with the likes of Michael A. Taylor, Joshua Palacios, Joshua Rojas, Miguel Vargas is hitting about a 229. Luis Robert's right around a 225. So these guys have just not been solid, to say the least. And for the Cleveland Guardians, it's a very top-heavy lineup of their own, and they're in the bottom 8 in terms of run creation, as Jose Ramirez has been able to give you 23 home runs. He's hitting darn near 300. Kyle Manzardo's up to 18 bombs. He's been able to supply this team with about a 320 on base. And then Steve Kwan at the top, he's hitting a 280, but just so many guys. They're right now hitting below a 225. That's not even funny, as you've got Nolan Jones, David Fry, Will Wilson, Jonathan Rodriguez, Bo Naylor, John Kenzie Noel, Austin Hedges, all down there. So that's an issue. And what else is an issue is Emmanuel Clase currently being under investigation. That's not what you want to see, to say the least. You've got Kate Smith give you sub 3 ERA along with Eric Zabrowski and Nick Enright, so these guys have been solid, and you've been able to get a bit more out of Jacob Junis as well, which is very encouraging for the Chicago White Sox. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do a good job of getting to Slade Cecconi, who's had a little bit of a, shall we say, a rocky season, to say the least. There have been some ups, there have been some downs. Overall, a 3.72 ERA compared to about a 4.45 fielding dependent. He's only giving up 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but the 1.5 home runs per 9 innings and at least 1 home run allowed in each out of his last 4 starts. A little bit concerning, though. He has given up 300 runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. So did set the Guardians at a minus 144 on the money line. Won't lay it. And I did set my total at an 8.3. So right now seeing the 8.5, I'm seeing a 9 out there as well. I'm going to be in on the under. 923, 924 on the card. The Tampa Bay Rays are on the road against the Seattle Mariners. Brian Wu says woohoo to getting another start, and Adrian Don't Call Him Doogie Howser is on the bump for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is an underdog of between plus 150 to plus 160, anywhere between minus 175 to minus 190. That is your number on Seattle, with 7.5 being the total. Under is between minus 115 to a minus 120. Over is between even a minus 105. And when it comes to the Rays, I did set them at a plus 146. Now that we're seeing like a plus 160, this has just gone too far for me. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. I do think that it's very valid what our good friend and Matt Josephs brought up in the last segment, the fact that the Rays are on this really long road trip, and Frauser, he did get lit up in his last start. He gave up 5 runs to the LA Angels and has now given up 3+ runs in each out of his last 3 starts. Not a guy that's going to give you a lot of deception. 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, but posing up a 2.54 ERA because he's been able to mitigate hard contact. Giving up 4 home runs at 74 in a third innings. He's pitching out there in a ballpark in Seattle where I recognize that you've got Eugenio Suarez with over 35 home runs. Big dumper Cal Raleigh has been up to 43 home runs, but I mean, it is one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball for a fly ball pitcher and a guy that pitches contact. This is a place where you do want to be. Now for Seattle, you also have Julio Rodriguez with 21 bombs hitting at 250. Ore Polanco hitting at 250 with 18 home runs. Randy Arozarena 350 on base, 23 home runs as well, and then about a 355 on base. J.P. Crawford, you haven't been able to get a ton out of some of these other guys like Ben Williamson. It's for about a 250, but he's really giving you no power whatsoever. But that said, for the Seattle Mariners, this is also a very rock-solid bullpen, especially at the top. Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, Edward Pizarro, Matt Brash, these guys give you a sub-3 ERA ERA. That has been very nice for this team. And Brian Wu, well, he has been very good in the starting rotation as he is giving up closer to about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and he gets about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Does a nice job in terms of not self-inflicting wounds, only about 2 walks per 9 innings. And for Wu, he's been much better at home rather than on the road. At home, he is posting up a 2.17 ERA. That ERA goes up by nearly a point and a half, 3.62 on the road. So that's been massive for him as he has been still giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings at home. But I do think that for the Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to be able to counter that energy of the Seattle Mariners with their own bullpen. You've got the likes of Eric Orze, Manuel Rodriguez, Garrett Clevenger, Pete Fairbanks, all give you a sub-3 ERA. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, getting back Brandon Lau is very big in this lineup. They were really suffering without him. He's been able to supply this team with 20 home runs, hitting about a 280. You've got Jonathan Aranda, give you just below a 400 on base. Now, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, so he's going to be out of the fold with a fractured wrist, which that's not great. But got Junior Caminero hitting for about 30 home runs. He's been able to get about a 250 average. Now, you do have a few guys that they need to pick it up a little bit more. Taylor Walls, the entirety of the catcher spot, Cameron Misner, guys like this. Christopher Morel hitting below a 225 has been a little bit of an issue, but Chandler Simpson, it's just below 300. He's up to 32 stolen bases this year. This team does a great job of playing station-to-station baseball, so I do think that this is going to be a lower-scoring game. Set my total at a 7.4, so you're at the 7.5. Like the under, and I do like the Rays on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road against the Walker, Texas Rangers. Patrick Corbin is on the bump for the Rangers. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler goes for the Phillies. It is a total. The under is minus 115, over is minus 105, and for the Phils, they're anywhere between minus 144 to a minus 157 favorite, and between plus 128 to a plus 132 is that number on the Texas Rangers. And with the Rangers, I did set them as a underdog of a plus 150, so we're going to be willing to ride with the Philadelphia Phillies. Do want the money line rather than the run line. Run line I'm seeing between about a plus 112 to a plus 115. I'd be willing to take either, but I want to play it safer a little bit more on this one just because this is a Philadelphia Phillies team that they do experience a little bit of a sharp drop with their offense when they're away from home, averaging about 5.1 runs per game at home, closer to about 4.3 runs per game away from home. And Texas has been, if you look at ballpark factors, one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball for the Phillies. Kyle Schwarber has been amazing, 41 home runs, 380 on base, and then Bryce Harper has come off the injured list. He's been solid, 17 home runs, about a 360 on base there as well. Trey Turner, Max Kepler are both at 12 home runs apiece, but Kepler's not hitting for any average whatsoever. Do have quite a few guys though, JT Realmuto along with Alec Boehm hitting at 270 plus. Do still have some trepidations with this Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, as well as you've had quite a few guys that have been not great to say the least. You do bring in Yohan Duran, who's just absolutely amazing, and Ryan Kerkering has been able to give you an ERA well below a 3, but I mean, the likes of a Max Lazer posting up a 4.55 ERA. It's been a just terrible season for Jordan Romano. Guys like this, they have not been too reliable for this team, but for Zach Wheeler, he has been wheeling, and he has been dealing. This guy is right now one of the top guys for the Cy Young Award, as he's posting up a 2.64 ERA, fielding opponent more in that neighborhood by 286, 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, only giving up 1.1 home runs per 9. Now, we'll say he's given up 4+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and we did hear Matt talk about the fact that he might only go like 5 or 6 innings because he's been dealing with a little bit of soreness, what have you, so something to be mindful of. But Patrick Corbin is also a guy that's giving up a lot of contact, as he's up to about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 1.2 bombs per 9, 391 ERA compared to a 4.12 fielding independent. He has given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts, and he is backed up by a bullpen that has been quite sturdy for the Texas Rangers. They're a top 5 unit with regards to bullpen ERA. You've got the likes of a Robert Garcia, along with Chris Martin, who's currently dealing with injury, by the way, but I mean, still, Hobie Milner, Cole Winn, a whole bunch of guys give you a sub-3 ERA. Sean Armstrong has been pretty rock solid as well, and I do think that for the Texas Rangers, this is a lineup that just continues to improve. They're averaging about 5 runs per contest since the beginning of the month of July. If you look at the overall season numbers, it's not necessarily too great. You do have Corey Seager, though. That'll give you a 368 on base overall for the season, but since the beginning of the month of July, over a 400 on base. You've got Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, Marcus Semien, all between about 13 to 16 home runs, lying below at 240, but obviously have been improved there. And Kyle Higashioka, if you look since the beginning of the month of July, hitting well above a 325. That said, I do think that Wheeler is going to be able to find it here, and I think that Patrick Corbin gives you a presentable start. So my total is 7.6. I like the under and the Phillies on the money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Boston Red Sox are on the road against the San Diego Padres. Dylan Cease goes for the Pods. Brian Bayo goes for Boston. Boston is a underdog between plus 112 to a plus 128. 132, minus 132 to a minus 137. That number on the Padres, and your total is 8 to 8.5. On the 8.5, under is minus 125, over is plus 105. On the 8, over is minus 115, under is minus 105. And for Mr. Bayo, I had to set him as a plus 144 underdog, so I'm going to be looking to lay it with the San Diego Padres. I recognize that Dylan Cease has had a really bad year. If you take a look at the ERA, right now it is a nice hearty 4.60, but positivity should be coming. 351 fielding dependent, 1.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he has given up about 3.5 walks per 9, but he's been able to find it a little bit more recently. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and still been able to get at least 8 strikeouts in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. He's got that good swing and miss stuff, and he is amplified by the fact that he's got a bullpen behind him in the San Diego Padres that's currently number 1 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Now, maybe it's controversial, but Mason Miller not having a great year, I didn't think that was too much of an upgrade for them, but you still have so many guys that are right now going out there, give you a sub-3 ERA. Waldy Peralta just below that at a 3.10, but the likes of Andre Morahone, Jason Adam, David Morgan, Jeremiah Estrada, all below a 275 has been solid. Now for the Padres, you need a little bit more pop in this lineup. They do add in their Ramon Laureano, who helps out quite a bit. He and Ryan O'Hearn both give you 12 plus home runs this season, both above a 340 on base. And then you've got Gavin Sheets up to 13 bombs, hitting about a 250, but your main 2 guys, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., both had about a 360 on base. Machado 20 home runs, Tatis 17 bombs, and Luis Arraez starting to get that batting average closer to about a 300. He's at about a 292, just hasn't quite been able to break it quite yet, but he's been relatively solid. And for the Boston Red Sox, this continues to be a top 7 team in terms of run creation. Weiler Abreu has been wilding out with 21 home runs, hitting about a 250. And then you do have a cavalcade of different guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 255 to a 265, as you've got Abraham Toro, Jaron Duran, Ceddanne Rafael, Trevor Story all in that neighborhood. And Story, he is up to 18 home runs this season. You've had Rami Gonzalez hit about a 300 as well, so he's been a solid guy in this lineup when he's been available because he's dealt with a lot of injuries. But Boston, they themselves are top 6 team in terms of bullpen area, and they might have the most reliable closer in the big leagues in Aroldis Chapman, 121 ERA with 13 strikeouts per 9 innings, absolutely magnificent. And then you have the likes of Chris Murphy, Garrett Whitlock, Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, Brendan Bernardino, all give you a sub 325 ERA, and it's been a very solid year for Brian Bayo. I just don't think that 303 ERA is necessarily sustainable, though, as he does pitch with quite a bit of contact, which it helps that he's going to be pitching out there at Petco, but 6.8 strikeouts, 3.3 walks per 9 innings, a 423 fielding dependence, 1.2 points higher than his actual ERA. He has been able to do a nice job of keeping things out in front of him recently with 300 runs or fewer, given up in each out of his last 5 starts, but do like this improved Padres lineup, and I think that they win a lower scoring game. Semi-total 7.9. I'm in on the under, and the Padres on the money line up to a minus 144, and wrap things up with 929. 930 on the card. It is the Blue Jays on the road facing off against the LA Dodgers. It is going to be Eric Lauer on the bump for the Blue Jays, and it is one Mr. Tyler Glasnow on the bump for the Dodgers. Right now, that FanDuel opener is showing Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and right now that is showing at a minus 190 for the Dodgers, plus 160 for the Blue Jays. 9 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110. If you think that Tyler Glasnow is worth probably like 10 cents less to the line, I still would be willing to take the Blue Jays. I'd be willing to take a plus 148 or higher with them. For Tyler Glasnow, he just has been a little bit all over the place this season for the LA Dodgers, as his walks per 9 rate is very high. Now, since coming off the injured list, he's been doing a little bit of a better job, as he has given up 1 run or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, so love to see that. But still, the 4.4 walks per 9 innings is a bit of a concern. 360 ERA compared to a 447 fielding independent, as he has given up a combined 7 walks in his last 2 starts as well. That's a little bit less than magnificent. And for Eric Lauer, he's really been able to find some good power pitching this season, as he's up to about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, only about 2 walks per 9, 259 ERA, 318 fielding independent, steady as they come. 2 runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 5 starts, and he's backed up by the better bullpen in this game, as you've had Yariel Rodriguez, Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, a whole bunch of guys give you a sub 325 ERA. Even though Jeff Hoffman has been really not great, that was one of their big acquisitions in the offseason, they've still been able to do a nice job with regards to that bullpen. And for the LA Dodgers, it's been mix and match for them. They do pick up Rock and Roll Stewart at the trade deadline to be able to help out. He's giving you a sub 3 ERA. Blake Tryon just comes off the injured list as well. It's been a little bit of a shaky year for him. And Jack Dreher down below a 325 ERA, but the likes of Anthony Banda and company have not been great. Kirby Yates, Sanders Scott, who are not having great years, are on the injured list. And for the Dodgers, if you look since the beginning of the month of July, this has been a bottom half of the big league team in terms of runs per game. That should turn around with Max Muncy back at the fold. Already has a home run since he came off the injured list a few days ago, supplying over a 365 on base. Shohei Ohtani continues to be amazing. And he's giving you over a 370 on base, 39 home runs. Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz have been able to give you 18 plus home runs apiece. Both of these guys hitting above a 250, though Hernandez really doesn't draw a lot of walks. but that's why you've got Will Smith getting jiggy with it with over a 400 on base. And then for the Toronto Blue Jays, this team has been able to find quite a bit more offense. They are dealing with the concussion to George Springer, so that takes out 18 home runs at about a 375 on base, but you still have Vlad Guerrero Jr. nearly a 400 on base with 18 home runs. Bo Bichette, Edison Barger are both between 16 and 17 home runs, with Bichette hitting at 300. Don't call his name. Alejandro Kirk is hitting at 300. Uri Clement is hitting about a 285. Now, this is a Blue Jays lineup that averages about a full run per game less when they are on the road rather than at home, as they're averaging about 4.2 runs per game on the road compared to more like 5.2 runs per game at home. But I do think that Lauer gives you a relatively good start. If we get that 9, I'll be in on the under. As I said, my total at an 8.6 and plus 149 or higher, like the Blue Jays on the money line. And that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season, so I'll be back with you once you get them out. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
As soon as I found out we were going to have a baby, I wanted to make sure that whatever we slept on or came into contact with was safe from toxins or anything harmful. So I bought Koyuchi sheets and towels. Koyuchi was exactly what we needed. Not only are they certified organic to the highest standards, they're also just amazing. We have the Koyuchi Organic Crinkled Percale Sheets. They're 100% organic cotton and woven to be naturally cooling, super soft, and breathable. And I honestly just sleep better with them. Of course, now our baby registry has a lot of Koyuchi on it too. Crib sheets, blankets, and a snuggle sack. All the best for him or her. Everything we have from Koyuchi feels good, looks good, and is safe for our whole family.
Get 15% off when you visit Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com to get 15% off. Koyuchi.com.